Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the program. We have a return guest, Caleb VanArragon, who plays the Korn Ferry Tour. He's back for a third time. And there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about. He and I had a chance meeting in the fitness center before the beginning of the LeCom Suncoast Classic. He was kind of right in the middle of his routine, which he's going to get into. And we're going to talk about his routine game day. What's involved in game day? What time are you waking up? What are you having for breakfast? How early do you get to the golf course? Warm-up time? All that stuff. He's going to break it down. He's going to peel that curtain back. And that's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Take us behind the scenes. What's really going on? And Caleb is going to do that. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, would you please do so? Because that matters to our sponsors. And it also matters to the algorithms, which generate everything. Talking about YouTube, Spotify, Apple. If you've already subscribed, you're among the 14,000 or so. Thank you very much. But recommend the show to a friend and leave a 5-star comment because that helps us greatly and it certainly helps our sponsors. Big thanks to Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of hard seltzers and you're tired of beer, you don't like beer because it makes you feel fat when you play golf, then try a Party for golfers by golfers. And if you don't have Party where you play golf, get in contact with the golf staff or the beverage staff and say, hey, we need some of this Party stuff. Party is distributed exclusively across the state of Florida by Paradise Craft Distributors. If real estate is in your plans in the future, nobody better than the golf real estate pros. That's suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties based here at Lakewood National Golf Club. Vince Vizzacaro, Gene Walsh, and Samantha Walsh have you covered. It's a good time to buy. It is definitely a buyer's market, and there's still some season left or to get you ready for next year. And if all that golf has you tired out, then go to Violet Spa in downtown Sarasota. Get a manicure, get a pedicure, hot water or cold water plunge, hot tub, red light therapy, yoga, whatever you want. They got it all for you. Violet Spa in downtown Sarasota. All right, let's bring Caleb VanArragon in here. Hey, man.
How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. I'm proud of you, man. You had a real good showing.
Thank you.
And I want to take you back to Thursday, though.
Yes.
The chance encounter that we had in the gym at Lakewood National Golf Club. Now, you were in your routine. I may have interrupted it, but do you remember the conversation we had, or should I refresh your memory?
You might want to refresh my memory because, yeah, I was at the gym and I probably wasn't thinking too clearly at that point, but yeah. I've never met you in person before, so it was a great opportunity.
That's true. Okay, so let me just tell you like a true confession here. So I was doing some leg lifts, and I saw you doing your thing with a new product, which we'll get into in a sec. And you have a striking resemblance. I don't know if you know this, or maybe you do. I'm like, what is Michael Thorbjornson doing here? Has that happened before?
I've gotten that a lot before. A lot. Yeah. I've never met him before, but everyone always tells me that. Yeah.
Well, I know Michael. I caddied with him in Boston. I've played golf with him. Having got his PGA Tour card through PGA Tour University, was the number one college player in America. And I'm like, no, Michael's on the PGA Tour. And then I'm like, that's Caleb. Yeah. And then I'm like, yes, we've never met in person. We've done 2 podcasts together. And so I introduced myself. And do you remember what you said to me?
I think I said, I better win this week so that you can have me back on the podcast or something like that.
Close. You said, hey, if I win this week, can I come back on the podcast?
Yes.
And I said, Caleb, you can come back on the podcast anytime. But if you win, it just make for a better podcast. Mm-hmm. And you almost did. You finished 2 shots out of the lead. Tell me about the week. What came together for you?
Yeah, no, it was obviously a really good week. I was really happy with it. That's finished T4. That's tied for my best finish ever on the Korn Ferry Tour. It's been a good year, but kind of a weird year, at least up to this point, because I've made every cut so far. I'm 8 for 8, which is, I'm really, really happy with that. I'm really grateful for it. But up until that point, my best finish was a T13, which is, I'm still happy with that, but I hadn't had a single top 10 finish out of 7 times making the cut, basically. So, going into last week, I was basically like, all right, I should probably, if I want to put myself in a good position to, try to get that tour card. I'm going to have to start getting some top 10s and hopefully top 5s and something like that. It was funny though, because I didn't think that Lakewood Ranch was or Lakewood National was necessarily the best course for that for me, because it's generally pretty wide off the tee. I would say the guys who hit it a little farther are probably at a bit of an advantage, because the green complexes, as you know, are so undulating and pretty challenging. So there's a lot of holes where it's very advantageous to be able to hit the ball a long ways. You don't necessarily need to be, completely dead straight off of every tee. You've got maybe 20, 30 yards on either side and a lot of places where you can miss. I didn't think, and I don't hit the ball super far by Korn Ferry Tour standards. I'm at tour average or maybe a little bit below average. And I was really happy that I was able to contend the way that I did. And that was the first time I've actually legitimately put myself in position coming down the stretch to possibly win. So it was just a thrill to get to experience that. And I was just grateful to put myself in that position for pretty much the first time this year. So
well done. I love your honesty and your humility. But tell me, just let me feel what you were feeling. Were you nervous coming down the stretch?
Yes. It was interesting though, because it wasn't the same. It was more of a thrill than it was like fear, because I remember last year there were 3 times last year I had 3 top 10s, and the first 2, I think we talked about this last time we were on the podcast. It was in Chicago and in Dallas. Both times I was in the final group going into the final round, and both times, like last year, I only made 12 out of my 24 cuts, or 12 out of my first 24, I should say. So I was missing about half my cuts, and generally when I made the cut, I think I only had 1, maybe 2 top 20 finishes outside of the top 10s I had. So it's kind of like when I put myself in that position, I felt like I really, really had to like play well in order to just keep my card. And that was, as a result, I didn't play super well in either final round. I finished 7th and 9th after starting the day, basically second, which, it was good enough to keep my card, but it wasn't good enough to get me anywhere close to getting a PGA Tour card. But this year, I felt like it was so different, because instead of playing to just keep my card on the Korn Ferry Tour, I feel like I kind of have this opportunity to try to get my PGA Tour card. And the fear, like I believe that I'm going to be back in that position again. So there's not as much fear of, if I mess this up, when am I ever going to get another chance at this? So
I think you told me last time it's not about making cuts, although that's important because that pays the bills, right? Mm-hmm. But the other thing, you can make just a bunch of cuts on the PGA Tour, and that may be the path toward keeping your card. But because top finishes are points heavy on the Korn Ferry Tour, it might be beneficial to go for it and get more points, have like a couple of high finishes at the expense of maybe missing a cut or 2. Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of interesting because one of the guys who finished, I think he tied me this week. His name's Ian Gilligan. He's made 5 out of his 8 cuts this year. I played with him in Chile, which was like the 6th event of this year. And he missed the cut by like 3 or 4 shots, I think. Like he wasn't particularly close, but he's like, I don't know, like 6th or something like that in the points list, because every time he's made the cut, he's finished top 5. He's made, I think he's got 5 top 5s, if I remember that correctly, or at least 5 top 10s in
in his 5 made cuts so far. So it doesn't really matter if he misses a cut here or there, because when he makes those cuts, just to give an example. So for me, when I was in Savannah 2 weeks ago, I finished 30th. That got me 25 Korn Ferry Tour points. This past week, when I finished 9th, or when I finished 4th, I got like 120 or something like that. So basically, if you finish 4th, that's the equivalent of finishing in 30th place like 4 or 5 times in a row. So it doesn't, and the difference separating 4th place and 30th place, it's 6 shots or something like that. So yeah, maximizing your good weeks is very, very important out here.
Kevin VanArragon is our guest here on Party Time, brought to you by Party Golf Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. If golf real estate is in your plans, no better time to buy and no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club and the golf real estate pros of Vince Visicaro, Gene Walsh, and Samantha Walsh got you covered. If all that golf has got you tired, then go to BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. Nice job painting the picture with just the importance of top finishes. And by the way, the young man you just talked about, what's his name again?
Ian Gilligan.
Ian Gilligan. Hell of an up and down on the 18th hole, final group. And I think that got him in the top 5, and it saved him a lot of money or earned him a lot of money, whatever you want to say. Just incredible flop shot over the bunkers left. Wow. Big ones pulling that off. You should have seen it. So I want to talk to you about your day, because I think for a lot of golf fans, they just see you show up on the first tee and think they know you hit balls and everything. But when does the prep start? Does it start the night before with what time you want to go to bed, how much sleep you want? Walk me through it all. What you're thinking about the night before, how much sleep when you're waking up, and take me all the way up to when you're teeing off. Yeah.
So I would say we can probably break it down. There's basically 2 different, you can have morning tee times or afternoon tee times out here generally. The morning wave is typically somewhere in between, like you could go between 6:45 and 8:45. And then the afternoon wave is typically like noon to 2, somewhere around there. So the routine for a day depends heavily on when your time is. So morning tee times, that's probably the more challenging one, because, like I said, you can have some really early tee times. So just as an example, in Panama this year, my tee time was at 6:40 a.m. So that's actually an advantage, believe it or not, because when you get out on the golf course, there's probably going to be less wind. The greens are going to be absolutely perfect. You'll play really fast. However, it's not a very fun morning, because at least in Panama, we're playing. So Panama, I'll just use the example, all the South American tournaments, there's generally a host hotel that's not necessarily very close to the golf course. Everyone typically stays at the host hotel or in an Airbnb nearby, because that's generally the tour has set that up already. It's in a safe area, and the tour provides transportation from the host hotel to the golf course. In Panama, it's a 30 to 45 minute drive from the host hotel to the golf course. So I think, if I remember correctly, I believe I would have taken the 4:30 a.m. shuttle. I think it was either the 4:30 a.m. shuttle or the 5 a.m. shuttle from the hotel to the golf course. So you're waking up probably half an hour or whatever before the shuttle to make sure you catch it on time. Get to the golf course, eat breakfast, and then it's tough. It really depends on what sort of gym the golf course has. So in Panama, there wasn't a gym at the golf course. There was just a locker room. So I didn't really do a whole lot in terms of like pre-round gym warm up. But if we're at a course such as Lakewood National, where there's a great gym at the golf course, then you'll try to get in the gym before the round and try to like loosen your body up a little bit before you go hit range balls, so that you don't, it's just, for me personally, if I don't go to the gym before I go warm up, it just takes me a little while longer to get warmed up. But I know as I get older, that's not going to be the case. And it's just good practice to warm up before you hit, so that you don't get injured. Of
course. But generally speaking, given your druthers, if you have time and you don't have that super early wake up time, like how early before your tee time do you like to be on campus at the golf course?
At the golf course, I mean, I'll start my warm up, give or take hour 15 before my tee time starts. Hit balls for about half an hour, chip for 15 minutes, putt for 20 minutes or so, and then be at the first tee in time to, probably 10 minutes before my tee time, right after the group in front of me tees off. So minimum, I'm getting to the golf course hour 15 before I tee off, preferably a little bit before that, so I can go to the gym for a little bit beforehand. And depending on when my tee time is, I might need breakfast beforehand. I might need lunch or whatever. But it entirely depends on when the tee time is. That sets everything up. So,
what do you like to eat? Do you have a favorite? Do you like to eat light? Do you like a heavy meal?
So if it's an early morning tee time, every tournament when I'm in the United States, for the most part, what I'll do is I'll stay either at an Airbnb or a hotel that has a kitchen, so that way I can cook for myself, because I basically eat the exact same breakfast every single day. It's like 3 eggs, a bagel, Greek yogurt, banana, and some other fruit. I'll eat that pretty much every single day. They always have, at the golf course, they have breakfast and lunch for us. And the problem is it's different every single week. So I would say a lot of guys, probably most guys on tour, just eat what the course has for them. But for me, I like being able to control that a little bit more. The course food is usually great. I just like being able to eat the same thing every single week. So I travel with a pan, because a lot of times I feel like the hotel pan it'll say it's nonstick, and then, you cook 3 eggs and 2 of them stick in the pan. But, I'll travel with my own pan that I know is good and cook my own breakfast every single day. Generally. So,
okay, if you have the pan, then you got to do some grocery shopping when you get into town. James Nicholas, who I know did a fabulous job behind the scenes of the Korn Ferry Tour event at Lakewood National last year. It was cool. It was like from when he entered the gates, he's driving in, he's describing what he sees, love the place. And then the next thing you know, he's at Whole Foods with his wife because they do all their own cooking. Yeah. Is there like a Caleb version of that, like a James Nicholas light going on? What's up?
Yeah, no, something like that. I mean, that's pretty much my first stop. Maybe hotel every week is to a grocery store. And then typically, I mean, it depends. I'll always pretty much eat the same thing for breakfast every day, and then the same thing for dinner every night over the course of a week. I switch it up every week, what I eat for dinner. But typically make ground beef and make a big thing of ground beef at the start of the week, put it all in Tupperwares, and then just make tacos every night. Or some weeks, if I won't have a lot of time or I'm driving a bunch, it's just Chipotle every night. In South Carolina or in Georgia, Savannah, a couple of weeks ago, I just had a pub sub every night. It depends, but I try to keep it the same every single day. When I'm at a tournament, I don't know why I do that. I don't think it's necessarily an advantage, but it is kind of nice and just getting into that routine. But then lunch, typically the course has something different for us every single day. And it's just way easier because I'm always going to be at the course around noon to just eat whatever they have for us. So
do you like to eat? Do you like to have like a certain amount of time for the meal to digest? And I'll give you an example. I played golf yesterday and I wolfed down this humongous turkey sandwich and I played like crap for like 4 holes. I couldn't swing. Right. Are you conscientious about that and the time that you eat prior to teeing off?
Yeah, I just kind of graze throughout the day. Like I don't eat. I've always been that way. Like I can't eat a lot at one sitting. So I'll eat a pretty big breakfast, but then, I won't be actually teeing off until 2 hours after breakfast minimum. But then after that, like I eat generally like 4 or 5 meals a day plus snacks throughout, but all the meals are like really small by most people's standards. So like over the course of a tournament, like if it's a morning round, I'll eat breakfast at my hotel. Then on the golf course, I've got a bunch of snacks. I'll eat like an RX bar, Cliff bar, Nature Valley bar, some nuts, banana, stuff like that throughout the round. eat lunch after the round, probably go practice a little bit, go to the gym, eat dinner, and then chill out and journal, whatever I do. And then before bed, I have a protein bar and some more fruit or something like that. So I eat very, I don't know. I'm kind of weird in that way. I can't eat a lot at one time.
Yeah, I like to graze when I play golf competitively because I want to be hungry for birdies, for one. I don't want to feel like I'm full. And so I just have like some nuts and berry snacks and everything. Drinks. What are you drinking on the golf course?
Pretty much just water. When I'm in college, our coach was very strongly against Gatorade and anything that had sugar in it. And that when I was a kid, I would drink Gatorade on the golf course all the time. But the more that time has gone on, the more I've realized like I probably shouldn't be drinking like a bunch of sugar when I'm on the course. Like that's probably going to it makes me feel jittery. And I figure the electrolytes that are Gatorade, if I'm eating consistently, like everything that any food you eat seems like has so much salt in it that'll probably take care of it for me. So pretty much just straight water on the golf course.
You mentioned journaling. Can we go there? What are you journaling and what does it do for you?
Yeah, it depends. I'm not super consistent with it. It's typically I'll journal at night. Sometimes I'll journal in the morning or before a round or something like that. But it's more of an as needed thing. Like if there's something, typically when I'm practicing, I've got a little practice notebook. So I'll write down, what I'll try to do is I'll practice for like half an hour or so, write about what I learned, practice for another half hour, write about what I learned. And I feel like that's what my coach has always taught me to do, is to break up my practice into different little chunks so that I'm more fully focused for each part of it. But then if it's at night, it's more to keep me in the right mental state. Like I'm journaling about what I learned throughout the day, first of all, but also what I'm trying to do the next day. Cause I feel like attitude is the most important. That's the most important, like unquantifiable skill that there is in golf, is being able to be positive and believe in yourself. And I feel like I try to stay on top of that as much as I can. But typically if I notice something wrong with my attitude, like I'm not being positive enough, not self-talk isn't good enough, I'll try to journal about that. And I feel like it's just like assisted thinking, basically just thinking really hard about it by journaling. And typically that helps but it's not something I do like religiously every single night or anything like that, but it's something I do as needed, kind of.
Are you putting pen to paper or are you typing?
Yes. Yeah. I've got a big notebook that I write in. I prefer writing physically if I can.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's cool. Tell me about your caddy.
Yes. So my caddy, Matt Bergstrom, he's been caddying for me basically since my first Korn Ferry Tour event last year. He played mini tour stuff. He was a professional golfer for a few years before he, about 5 years ago or so, he stopped playing full time and became caddy at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando, which is where he met a guy named Brett, who was actually my teammate at Valpo, who was also caddying out there. So when I got Korn Ferry Tour status, I'd literally never played golf with a caddy before. The only caddy I had ever had was pretty much my parents or my coaches. I never once had like a full-time professional caddy before. So it's kind of funny, like when you get status or when you get any type of start in any of these, any PGA Tour sanctioned event, you immediately get your DMs, Instagram DMs flooded with, like, I probably had at least 10 caddies reach out to me and say, hey, if you need a caddy, I'll be available for the Bahamas or whatever. But I wanted to go with someone who like I had a personal connection with, so that I knew that I could trust them. And Brett recommended Matt to me, and it's worked out great. I've taken him every single week, pretty much every single week since the Bahamas last year. So we're going on like probably 30 35 events, something like that. So he's great. He's been really good for me. And I like the fact that I've stuck with the same guy for so long, because he really understands my game at this point.
What do you want from him shot to shot? What information is he providing?
It really depends. I would say what he helps me out most with is actually before the tournament, because there's always, not always, but typically before the tournament, what I'll do is I'll sit down for an hour or so. I'll go with the previous year's yardage book or whatever I can find about the golf course on Google Earth or whatever. I'll compile a list of like different things that I want to look for on the golf course. So for instance, this week, hole 1 at Lakewood Ranch, I was probably looking for where on the left side, what's the slope doing over there, so that how concerned do I have to be about the ball going left into the hazard? And based on that, where should I be looking for my line? Should I always be hitting driver? Should I be hitting mini driver at some point? And then into the green, I mean, obviously that's a really goofy green, but how far left can I miss it, where it'll still kick down onto the green on that left side? Where can I be landing it? I know there's that huge slope in the middle of the green. Where can I be landing it on that slope so that it stays on the green, versus I know sometimes it kicks so hard off that slope it goes off and misses on the right. Where a good place to putt from to that little tier in the back right, like what should I be doing to that one? Stuff like that. So I'll give him a list of all sorts of things that I'm looking for on the golf course, and then he'll study the golf course for me, because it's a lot easier for him to go out and look for that than for me when I'm already going through all my practice and stuff. It's easier for him to just go out and spend a couple hours walking the golf course and figuring all that out. So that's probably the main thing that's. So
he's like a scout and a study buddy, but when you're actually playing, how much green reading is he doing? Do you like doing your own thing?
He actually, the way that I read greens is more feel based, I would say. Like, I couldn't tell you actually where my line is when I'm outside of probably 10 feet. I'm in a tournament, couldn't tell you where I'm actually aiming it. I'm just like visualizing it and hitting the putt. So I don't really get, he doesn't really read any putts for me, because it's more, that would completely, like if you told me like, okay, you got to aim like a 1.5 feet out to the right here, that would kind of short circuit my brain if I was doing that in a tournament. I'm just looking at the entire kind of arc of the putt and trying to feel it in with the speed that it's very feel based. So he doesn't really read any putts for me, but if it's a chip shot, I'll typically say, make sure that he thinks my aim where I'm trying to land it is the right idea. If there's different options, I'll talk through the options with him. If it's a tee shot, typically I know we've already decided where my line is, what club it's going to be. I'm just checking, all right, this is the line. What's the wind doing? And then if it's an iron shot, typically we already know where the hazards are and stuff, because of all the pre-tournament stuff he's done. And it's just, all right, where's the wind at? What number are we looking for? And I'll say, all right, I'll hit a 9-iron, 160 landing it, and we'll have our yardage book landing at this point. And typically he'll say yes, or what's good is sometimes if I'm, if my aiming point is wrong, he'll say, no, that's too close to this bunker. You got to go over here. So I would say it's generally pretty simple on the golf course, because you don't want to be thinking too much if you're,
especially if you're a field player, and especially with putting, because speed is like the most personal thing. I mean, all reads start with speed, right? Yeah. I could give you 4 different lines for the same putt based on speed, but I never know how you want to hit it. Only you know that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's where, if it's a straight putt, like, you can say, okay, it's a straight putt, and then it works out pretty well. But if it's any sort of a breaking putt, it's so hard to read a putt for someone else, because it's all about them being able to athletically match up the line and the speed, and that's just something that you can't really do for them unless you know exactly the speed that they're intending.
100%. You said so much in that, like staying athletically, the feel, the speed, and everything. It's only the player really knows that part. I heard a story. Tell me if it's true that you used to. Well, I think I saw it. Like,
on
it was a
Instagram?
clip. Yeah. Where what's the story about driving around the different clubs around Minneapolis and just putting on their putting greens?
Yeah. So what I did in college, when I was home for summer break, what I would do, I didn't do this every day. I ran junior tournaments in Minnesota. I was in college during the summer. So for 2-3 weeks, days out of the week, I was doing that. But then for probably at least 2 days a week, what I would do is they would be big short game and putting days. So what I would do is I would pick out 3 or 4 different golf courses that were within a 10, 15, maybe 20-minute drive of each other, so that I would first go to the first course and I would putt, maybe chip, but mostly just putt for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, something like that. Then I would go to the next course and then I would putt, maybe chip, but probably just putt for an hour, hour and a half. Then I would go to the next course and then the next course, and then I would go home. And the thought with that, so my coach, Dr. Luc Benoit, he's the guy who does he's the founder of Rip Golf. He's got a PhD in motor learning. So he's very knowledgeable in basically how to practice. What he's always emphasized to me is with putting is it's important to get yourself on as many different environments as possible. He always told me to try to seek out the weirdest greens you can find, because that'll make you much better at putting on like the normal ones. So that's what I would do is I would go to all different golf courses. They would all be public golf courses. So the first one would be, I don't know, running like an 8 and one certain type of grass. The next one would be running maybe a 9, different type of grass, different graininess. It was all mostly bent grass, but all different varieties of bent grass, different amounts of POA, different, maintenance practices, just all different greens. And I don't know. The thing is, at the time, it didn't help me because I was really bad at putting in college, but that was just because I was doing all the wrong drills. Basically, when I was there, mm-hmm. I didn't understand how to practice properly, but I think all that volume that I did was really beneficial for me in the long term.
I think so. I think it's clever. I mean, I can't argue against the logic behind it. It seems to work for me because you putt on all different putting surfaces. I mean, not all Bermuda is the same. They're like 4 or 5 different strains of Bermuda, Poana, ryegrass, all the above. Tell me this: when you're announced, how often? What's the batting average of the announcer getting your last name right when they pronounce it?
Very, very low. But what's surprisingly low is there are some people. There's actually been a few times, certainly once, maybe twice. At least once that I've been announced as Caleb VanArragon from Blaine, Montana, which I'm from Minnesota. I think that it just comes up as NN on the sheet. So yeah, I got announced as being from Montana one time, and then I was walking off the tee, and some lady in the audience said, "Hey, no way, I'm from Montana too." And I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not actually from Montana." But then I've had people get Caleb wrong. They go Caleb or Caleb sometimes. So you'd be surprised. Like they. I mean, obviously, VanArragon is pretty easy to get wrong, but apparently all parts of my name are. So,
well, your name looks kind of different, like on the scoreboard, because it's all capital letters, and you got some small. I remember seeing it. It just looked like, man, there are a lot of vowels in there, but it doesn't look Italian. And I'm like, oh, that's Caleb. It's just like, because there's only so much space on this electronic scoreboards.
No, I know. Because the way that the tour scoreboards work is they only have enough room for I don't know, 7 letters or something like that. So some of the names they have to really, really compress. But for mine, I think they just go like Vanera or something like that. So
it was like I'm like, what is that? And then I figured it out that it was you. Hey, before we go, So that device that you were using when you were warming up in the gym, and before I interrupted you, sorry about that, but led to this. So sorry, not sorry. Was that a Rip Golf product? What was going on there?
It wasn't. No, it was. Scotty Scheffler uses it. It's called like a Golf Forever stick. I just started using it because a college teammate of mine, I stayed with him for a couple of days in Jacksonville right before the Savannah tournament, and he has one of them. It's basically it's literally just like a stick. It's like maybe 3-4 feet long. And the idea is you strap it to an elastic band, and then you strap it to something anchored, and then you do all sorts of rotational stuff with holding the stick. And it's really, my first week using it, because I bought one after Savannah, my first week using it was Lakewood Ranch, and I finished fourth, so I'm going to have to keep using it.
Well, you were working that thing, and I could see the tension in the in the cord, and I'm like, man, if you let that thing go, it's going to behead me when I'm over there.
Yeah,
you had a good handle on it. Hey, give some love to your sponsors. Who's taking good care of you?
Yes, yeah. My two main sponsors are Unreal. That's the clothing company that's been sponsoring me since close to 3 years ago now. They're a Minnesota-based company. It's golf clothes and athletic clothes. And it's such good stuff. They've sent me a lot of stuff over the last 2.5 years, and there wasn't anything they've sent me that I don't like. It's all great. The workout stuff's great. The golf stuff's great. And then Rip Golf, that's like I said, my swing coach's company, Dr. Luc Benoit. They've got the Rip Stick is their main thing. It's basically a speed training device that I used a lot growing up and still do use during the off season. It's really helped me with my power as a very short guy. And they've got a bunch of other stuff coming up the pipeline. And Luke, my coach, he's working on a book right now about basically how to practice. And I've read drafts of it, and it's going to be really, really good. So.
Well, listen, man, you just keep playing good golf, keep making those cuts, and go for it. You're always welcome back. But like I said, a win would make for a better podcast, wouldn't it?
That it would. We've got another tournament this week in Mexico. So here's hoping.
Yeah, you're this close. How's your Spanish? Any good?
Not good. Yeah, we've had 4 events already in Panama, Colombia, Argentina, and Chile, and the thing I'm best at saying is "Lo siento, mi español es muy malo." I have to say that a lot. So
yeah, I'm sorry, my Spanish is very bad.
Yes.
Necesitas practicas más, okay, amigo? Comprendes?
Definitely.
I speak that. So I know what you're saying. Very good. Caleb VanArragon has been our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story. Having a great year on the Korn Ferry Tour. Big thanks to our title sponsor, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. If golf real estate is in your plans, nobody better than the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh, Samantha Walsh, and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com. And if all that golf has got you tired, go to BioLit Spa in downtown Sarasota. For Caleb VanArragon, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.